The internet is on fire with the idea that Nick Saban could return to coaching. How real is it? And is it what you think? Stick around. Let's talk about it. This is Way Offsides. 3, 2, let's go. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever the case may be. Welcome to Way Offsides, your favorite Alabama sports talk show on YouTube. The internet is feisty today, and we're going to talk about it. I'll give you the option to stick around and let's just discuss this as a fun conversational topic. There's no predictions or anything happening today. I'm just telling you my opinion, what I think, and it's just something fun to talk about. Before we get to that point, lots of recruiting stuff going on right now. Rivals, who was bought out by On3, has just released their updated recruiting boards. A couple of guys, not a great day for the Bama bump crowd. A couple of guys that Bama is in contention for or already have commitments from were bumped down. Xavier Crowell, Anthony Tank Jones. These guys are still 5 stars. They're going to get that 5th star again, or, they'll be certified 5 stars when reevals are done in the fall. So nothing to worry about there. Alabama doesn't move in the recruiting rankings. They're still sitting at number 5 in both Rivals and 247. But we're going to have all of that information for you. Keep it up to date as much as possible. And the best way to stay in the loop is to follow. Not just follow, hit the subscribe button, leave a like on this video. It helps out the content. The more content we make, the more we can make more, if that makes sense. The more is in the more, if you will. But let's talk about this. Earlier today, Greg McElroy, who since he's left Alabama and joined the sports media world, has had kind of a love and hate relationship with Alabama fans. McElroy has struggled in the past to toe the line between giving an honest evaluation and opinion and saying things that will drive traffic, being sensational in a sense. Now, I want to preface everything by saying what McElroy said this morning, I actually heard it. I know what he's saying, and a lot of these organizations that have jump-started the conversation, like On3, have added a little bit of a sensational spin to it, to what was said. But McElroy basically said this morning that he felt like Nick Saban could potentially return to coaching. Not just that he felt like Nick Saban could return to coaching, but he felt like Nick Saban, that there was somebody very close that he knows and trusts very well who said that Nick Saban will coach again. McElroy followed that up by saying if it wasn't a credible source, he wouldn't have said it out loud. Well, it's not the first time that McElroy said something uncredible out loud. Let's start there. Greg McElroy, like I said, he has struggled since he's joined sports media, and I feel like he tries so hard not to be biased towards Alabama. It actually comes off the other way, to where it looks like he is purposely trying to say things to down the team or the fan base. And it's really put a sour taste in a lot of fans' mouths. McElroy was in a lot of eyes the quarterback that kind of started that Alabama run under Nick Saban. I think personally it was John Parker Wilson, but anyway, McElroy, wins a championship in 2009 as the starting quarterback. But since then, Greg has the former Rhodes Scholar has joined the likes of sports media world. And when you do that, you don't get to where he is or where some people are without saying some things that are just, off the wall. You kind of throwing things to the wall, see if they'll stick. McElroy's learning that and getting good at it, to be honest, and it rubs Alabama fans the wrong way. So there's two school of thoughts here. It's Greg McElroy, he's saying it, he must know something, and then there's McElroy just says whatever to generate clicks, so don't listen. Tell me in the comments which side of the fence you're on. I want to know. Do you think McElroy is a credible source? Do you think McElroy is do you think he has lost his Gump status? Tell me below in the comments. Anyway, so here's the thing. I've thought about this a lot today, just kind of watching everybody talk in the comments. And of course, Alabama fans are going to say, absolutely no way Nick Saban is going to return to coaching. There's no way he's going to do that because in an Alabama fan's mind, it's hard to figure out a way that Alabama could return to Alabama as the head coach because, you've got Kalen DeBoer coming into his second year. It just doesn't seem likely that Alabama would be like, no, you got to get out of here. Nick Saban's coming out of retirement for a couple of years at best. We're going to kick out this winning head coach who's recruiting really, really well here, who, despite a 4-loss season in his first season, has Alabama trending in the right direction. You have to believe because Nick Saban's coming back. It's hard to imagine that Nick Saban that the University of Alabama would do that because, first and foremost, Nick Saban is 73 years old. He'll be 74 in October this year. He's not spry by any means. Now, he has stated that he felt like there needs to be a change, and he's lobbied for that change. He sat in front of Congress and talked about the issues, the current and visual issues within this sport that we all love, that he loves, right? And so, but the fix there is a long-term thing, like NIL, transfer portal, all these things. It's not going to get fixed overnight. This is something that's going to take 5 years to a decade to really iron out and map out. Let's say that happens. Let's take the ladder and it's 10 years. Nick Saban would be 84 years old. So I just, for the reasons that he said he left Alabama coaching, I just don't see him coming back to the collegiate level. Now, not as a head coach, at least. Now, let's just, for the fun of it, let's just talk about what options he could have. And I'll tell you what's the most realistic option. First and foremost, Alabama is going to definitely lose Kane Womack at some point in time. Kane Womack had a top 10 defense last year. He's likely going to have a top 5 defense this season. The expectations are through the roof. At some point, Kane Womack will get a head coaching job somewhere else at D1 and will no longer be the defensive coordinator at Alabama. Now, how cool would it be? Again, we're just talking hypotheticals. This is just a video to talk about fun stuff, to think about stuff. How cool would it be if Nick Saban was like, hey, yo, I got you. I'm going to come in and be the defensive coordinator. Right? I'm going to come in and recruit. I'm going to come in and be the defensive coordinator. He doesn't have to worry about the NIL stuff. He doesn't have to be the one making the deals behind the scene. You've got Courtney Morgan to do all of that. He can come in and just go, I'm going to be the defensive coordinator here. I'm going to come in and I'm going to handle the defense, which we all know is Nick's side of the ball. I saw a interview with Damian Harris, former Alabama running back Damian Harris, and they asked him the same question. And he was like, I absolutely think Nick Saban could coach again. I think he'll stop coaching when he can't walk off the sideline himself. He's just that kind of guy. That's just who he is, right? And this would seem like a really cool fit for Nick Saban. I think as the head coach in a college program, it's just too muddy right now. Positional coaches have it a little bit better than the head coaches do. And Nick Saban's not hurting for money. So him coming back to coaching would be about his love for the game, his love for the X's and O's. And I just feel like that would be a very good landing spot for Nick Saban if he decided to say, you know what, to hell with it. I'm coming back. He pulled the old Wolf of Wall Street on everybody. I'm not leaving. I'm coming back. But I think realistically that's the most realistic option for Nick Saban. I don't think he wants to come into he's 74. He doesn't want to come into a crap program and try to rebuild the whole thing. I'm not saying he couldn't do it. I believe the man could do basically whatever he wanted to. But man, that is just, at his age, that is a very surmountable task. And there's one X factor here that not a lot of people are talking about that we'll discuss in a second. The other aspect would be the NFL. I think Nick Saban's been pretty clear about how he feels about coaching in the NFL as opposed to college. I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility, but if the right situation opened up, the right job, I'm sure he would consider it. I wouldn't be surprised if he's considered certain jobs already, because Nick Saban just strikes me as the kind of guy who struggles not being on the football field. He struggles not coaching. It's who he is. It is part of his DNA. And then the other, lighthearted is he's got grandkids, man. Like, let's coach some Pee Wee football. Let's coach these kids up. That's what parents do, right? Let's get out there, parents, grandparents. Let's get out there and coach little Tommy's 6-year-old football league. And so, but the X factor. I mean, realistically, Nick Saban's not going to coach again, at least not at the college level. And the X factor would be his wife. Alabama fans who are very familiar with that relationship and that part of his life. Nick Saban is not super open about his marriage with Terry Saban, but he is very he's made it loud and clear, like, she's the boss, she runs things. Getting her to sign off on him returning to coaching seems like it would be a very difficult task. It does, especially with how supportive they still are at the University of Alabama. It would be hard, I imagine, for their family to pick up and go to another school. And then if it's Alabama, Nick Saban has given Miss Terry what she wants. He's retired. He's around more. He's the family man more than he's usually during a football season, even an off season, because Nick Saban never turned it off, it looks like. But I feel like you give her that, it's really hard to get mama to go, yeah, you can go back. Really difficult. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. I just don't think it happens. All the odds are stacked against Nick Saban. And this guy, again, Nick Saban he's a strategist. He is somebody who is constantly thinking several steps ahead of everybody else. And I would imagine, like, these are things he understands. He understands his own limitations in the sense that, look, I'm not a spring chicken anymore. I'm not a young man anymore. The game, even in the 2 years he hasn't coached, has evolved and changed so much, especially in the recruiting world. And he's the one that is heralding and lobbying a lot of the positive change that we're hoping to see over the next few years. And that's been where he said that he has the most interest in changing and making the sport he loves better. So I just, I feel like it's first of all, it's an incredible story just because it was taken a little out of context by organizations like On3 for sensationalism and clicks, and it worked. But then just a little common sense goes a long ways here. I'm not saying Nick Saban couldn't coach somewhere again, but I just don't see him being a longtime head coach anywhere in college. I don't. I really don't see him being a coordinator somewhere in college. I can't imagine being a head coach and having Nick Saban as one of your coordinators. That would be that'd be a tough job. And so I think Nick Saban is living his life. I mean, he is coming up on the average age of male life expectancy in the United States. He's got children, grandchildren, family. He's got a great house in Florida. He's still got all the power in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. He's got his game day gig. He just won a freaking major Academy Award for it. So he's good at it. It'd be hard. It'd be really, really hard to see that happen. But anyway, we'll keep our ears peeled, but I don't think there's much smoke around that fire. Anyway, I hope everybody's having a great start to your week. It is Monday. But SEC Media Days is going on. There's going to be some crazy good content over the next 3 days. So make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss a penny. Why a penny? Why did I say that? $1, a penny, a quarter? I don't know. Just subscribe to the damn video. Thanks for sticking around. We love each and every one of you. As always, say your prayers, read your Bibles, wash your hands, horns down, beat Auburn and LSU and Tennessee to Roll Tide.